I ain't gonna lie, I think training core is one of the least bang for your buck thing that you can do to train for climbing. And thus, I have never specifically trained core for the purpose of getting better at climbing. I lied! I trained it once, and while my core did indeed get stronger in the exercise that I did train it with, and while the definition was starting to show, it did not apply itself to the climbing of the walls as well as one would have liked to imagine, in which case it would be kind of hard to measure whatever that would be. But the point is, I didn't notice that much of a difference, even though my core strength did indeed increase. But let's pretend I still do core. Here's what I would do. I would first acquire something known as flexible hamstrings. Because tight hamstrings directly affects how hard you can knee extension and hip flexion, you want these two motions to be completely maxed out so that you can have a completely extended leg to help you reach the far-reaching holds that you will probably want to hope to reach for. And to acquire flexible hamstrings, there's one particular stretch that you should put your bread and butter and dime into, known as the standing forward fold. To do one correctly and adequately, simply have your feet semi-comfortably far apart, not too far, not too close. From there, you want to hip hinge at the hips while keeping the legs straight and go down. Bring your chest towards your legs and tuck your chin in. If done correctly, you look a little something like this. And me personally, the way I manage to increase my hamstring flexibility is simply by doing this stretch, by doing it more. There were no particularly progressions to it. It's just I did it more and more until I was finally able to do it. If you're just starting off and you just want something to follow as a general guideline, I recommend 10 sets of 1 minute every other day for approximately 2 weeks. And from there, you should see at least an approximate 25% increase in hamstring mobility, especially if you never stretched consistently before. So give it a shot. Once you have semi-flexible hamstring, let us hajime the work. The primary core exercise I recommend is the hanging leg raise. Properly done, your feet are together and pointed downwards. You begin in a hollow body positioning with completely straight arms. From here, you bend at the hip, raising your legs all the way up until it contacts the bar above your head. From there, you lower down with control and you repeat this motion. Now, while doing this exercise, you may experience some quadricep cramping, which is totally normal and will eventually fade away the stronger your legs become as the more you do this exercise. I am also not going to offer you the regression known as the hanging knee raises, because the hanging knee raises will never turn to the hanging leg raises in the way of the leg being completely extended, because the hanging knee raise has the knee bent, but we want it to be completely straight for leg extension, and the only way to build this straight leg strength is by practicing this straight leg motion. So the regression that I will actually offer you is known as pain, suffering, leg cramping, bad form, swaying, arms bending, momentum. At some point in time, there's just no way around it. You will have to struggle and perform slightly off looking movements if you want to get really good looking on movements when it comes to the hanging leg raise. And a fun thing that you can do is you can superset hanging leg raises with standing forward fold to not only increase hamstring mobility, but to also kill two birds with one stone, in the sense that you're increasing hamstring mobility along with, getting stronger core and leg. Now, the obvious benefits of hanging leg raises is that you will be able to raise your legs while you are hanging on the wall, which is pretty good of a thing to be able to do. The next core exercise is going to be the side plank. To execute, go onto your side and prop yourself up on your shoulder. You want your shoulder to be directly beneath your elbow, and you want to have an active engagement of the shoulder so that you are not slouched. From there, feel free to position your feet however you like. I like to have mine stacked on top of each other, and then just simply elevate your hips up off the ground. Now, you can do these for time, which looks a little something like this, or you can do these for reps, which looks a little something like this. I recommend you doing both, and mayhaps in the fashion of 10 reps followed by a 20-second hold, and then you switch to the other side in the same exact fashion. Now, mastering this strength of the core laterally will allow you to hit holds laterally without your core collapsing. Now, most people think that the core is just pure abdominal might, but unfortunately it is a sheath that wraps around your entire bottom torso, mid-torso area. So we also have to work the posterior, and we will work the posterior by doing some hip thrusts. You want to start with your feet comfortably far apart and just beneath your body, down below your body, right here in your body area. Now, the motion that you want to replicate here is a dragging of the heels towards your butt not a pushing away of the heels away from your body. If you drag the heels towards your butt, you activate the posterior chain more, which is exactly what we want to activate. If you push it away, it's more quadricep and anterior chain focus. We don't want that. And so from here, you're just gonna hip thrust until your spine is neutral. You wanna make sure that you don't hyperextend the lower back. That's not what we're looking for here. To increase the difficulty of this exercise, which you should I recommend you do, you can simply move the feet further away, or you can do this one leg at a time. Not only that, but you can also hold the top position for isometric, which I do highly recommend you do. And now these hip thrusting exercise not only works the lower back in accordance with the hamstrings and everything, but it's a good way to make sure that your feet stay on the wall while you're climbing. And if you are struggling to bend that back for any particular reason because of lack of mobility, let me introduce you to the bridge. Perfectly executed, you want your hands facing towards your feet, elbows fully extended, shoulders lock out, and your spine to be relatively neutral in terms of the lumbar section. Now you may want to do some of these prior warm-up stretches in order to get into the bridge. Let's start off with the seal. Now the seal is all about pushing down with your hands, not arching up the back whatsoever. Starting in a lying position, you're going to push straight up with your hands, focusing on bringing your torso, your chest, as high vertically as possible. Do not try to lean backwards with your torso, nor try to arch with your lower back. You want the arch to be a natural movement that comes from lifting of the torso upwards. This will stretch out the stomach geek, and it will also put your lower back in a naturally arched position naturally. And now we need to strengthen the wrists in order for them to bend like this. I recommend you start with a stretch followed by a strengthening motion, which will look something like this. The stretch in itself, you take your hand, bend it backwards, place it in front of your body, and lean some weight against it, focusing the weight on the knuckles of your hands. From there, you're gonna superset this with a plank where you shift your shoulders over your wrists. This will help condition them to the loads that will be placed upon them when you do the bridge. If you are shifting too much forward upon them and it's a little bit too intense for you, simply bring your shoulders backwards, and that would be the regression for you. Lastly, the quadriceps will need some attention as well. I recommend you simply sit on your heels and lay all the way backwards. Now, if this is too difficult, feel free to put some pillows or anything of that nature on your back and then lean backwards into them. And once you've done all of these as kind of like a warm-up stretch or a regression stretch, the bridge should become a lot more feasible for you to do. Of course, all this does take time. And if I were to do a core workout right now, I would do the aforementioned exercises in a circuit pattern, meaning I would do 10 reps a hanging leg raise, superset with side planks, 10 reps, 20-second hold, do the other side. Finish off with bridges with my legs extended for 10 reps, and I shall hold the last rep for 20 seconds. Rest 3 or so minutes and repeat this 3 times. But of course, I don't actively work core for the reasons I gave much earlier. But if you do know anyone who jumped like a couple V grades because their core got stronger, do let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, partner.